This RSBANDB update nibble originally aired on RSBANDB update 732, Fossil Island Out of Time. Enjoy. If you're wanting to get around the island to, get to a Slayer creature, maybe get to Herbie Werby, or to get to the various dinosaur hunting areas, the agility course is the best way to do it. And that is perhaps the most organized way of getting around, because otherwise there is a huge amount of vertical shift. If you just look at the vertical shift, for example, from leaving base camp and then heading out through the side of it and then down to one of the hunter areas, you're descending what would normally be 2 to 3 levels in game. So emphasis on the vertical. But another thing with this is that there is a lot of hills and drops that you would think would normally be passable. And this is one criticism that I have of the island, is that it's too hard to tell what kind of land is passable and what kind of land is not passable. I don't know if you guys found that, but it's just...
You don't know, Shane?
For me, on the minimap, I just look at that, and if it's sort of got that sort of darkish, not darkish grey, but you've got sort of the green area you can run, and if it's got that sort of greyish type break between the areas, I know that I can't sort of go through that way. I sort of worked that out. When I first come to this island, I didn't do anything. I left base camp straight away and just walked around the entire island. I took 2 hours just walking the island. Yeah, going all the different ways. And that's sort of what I worked out looking at the minimap that way. And
the minimap is fine in that regard. But I still feel that if you're navigating by clicking on the actual game world, it's not necessarily clear enough. And Tanis, I'll let you take over at that point.
Yeah. Look, I have wanted this to be a really, really super great update, and I think it might be for a lot of people. I'm trying not to let my experience kind of cloud that, but my experience wasn't good when we come to this part.
Because of accessibility.
Yeah, I just couldn't get around hardly at all. I thought the mapping was just it was one, I don't know where to click half the time, and then you're constantly in dead ends. I can't stay on agility course because every 5 feet there's an off ramp, and you don't know that that's an off ramp. It just, hey, that's another agility feature, but it's not. So now I've just lost my lap. I felt like I was walking in quicksand. I had a lot of trouble, and the problem was that, like, I think it is the verticality that's making this so hard, but the verticality is what helps give the graphics that extra little edge. And so I'm running into this, like, I don't know if anyone else has faced this or even thought about this with this update, but for me, it put it right in my face of where, okay, RS3, it's modern, its graphics are modern, its sound is modern, everything is modern. Why can't I push a key and go? Why am I clicking like this? Why am I so frustrated within the first 10 minutes that I don't get to know what else is on the island because I'm just sick of moving around and being stuck? So I just go back to the max field.
And, when it comes down to it, I think that is a very valid criticism on this because, I found it fine after kind of learning the way and kind of, but if I still click on the actual terrain, I try and go down places I can't go. But if I stick to the map, like Pern said, that's fine. And this goes into what I want to talk about, into what they did here. And this is something that I was chatting with Sirion about this week. What they did is they designed a map that would fit in World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online.
But it doesn't move that way.
I know. And that's the thing. They graphically designed a map that would fit in one of these other top-end MMOs. Yeah. I mean, it looks like that. It rivals Star Trek Online in terms of graphic quality.
Yeah. I just wanted to press W, like, the whole time. And you do a lot of camera panning so you can tell and look around and see what's going on. And you want to go, but you can't go. And it wasn't until I had a friend meet me out there, and he was taking me around to, like, the actual different features because I couldn't get around to them on my own. And I know that I'm a special case. That's why I tried to not let this, determine whether I say it's a good update or not, because honestly, I don't know. My experience has been poor, so I don't.
Yeah.
It's hard for me.
And, it's and this is also something with it, is that when you're walking in a game world that is 3D, and if you are in World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online, you can move your character in such a way that if you walk up against a piece of terrain that you can't necessarily scale, your character will make a little animation, and you'll get some kind of feedback on that. Whereas if you click in an area where you can't go, in this game map, you will wind up in some corner next to a tree, as I just did in the video version that we're running here. And I don't want this to take away from Anachronia. I think it's a pretty good update in terms of what they managed to ship. And I actually have a grand theory on what they did here, which I'll save until we're wrapping up this segment. I enjoy it, but this is one of my few criticisms that I have of it. And Tennis, I'm going to agree with you on that. It looks amazing, but unless you're navigating by the world map, or you're paying very close attention to the way the terrain is laid out, it can provide some difficulties.
Yeah. And I just want to say also, Tannis, you say you're a special case, but Jagex has always been that game that is open to a lot more people, and they even partner up with people, with a special effect and things like that. So that is something that they probably do need to take into account and look at when they're designing. For me, it's fantastic, and I've always navigated by the minimap. I don't play any other games, so to me, this is the only way to get around a game. Other than sort of PlayStation and Xbox. Computer games, this mouse clicking is the way I've always sort of done it. So it is interesting to hear you say that and to think of that. And I don't think of things like that because I don't, yes, I wear glasses, but I've always used the Minimap just to sort of, I expand that and just use that way. But, with their partnerships that they have, that it is something that they, really probably should be looking at.
Yeah, speaking of the mini-map, I had trouble with the mini-map, but I did find that when I would switch to the world map, the world map was actually pretty good. It was actually decently helpful to kind of get your bearings. But I just wondered, like for me, it really made me kind of ask the question of, and maybe this is a big question, maybe this is something we shouldn't even be thinking about, but maybe it is. Maybe this is something to think about. With the way RuneScape is and the way RuneScape 3 is going, is it like, are we coming to a junction where this modern game is going to have to shed its skin at some point and fully step in to that realm and finally leave the past to the OS crowd?